everyone, hello, 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 hello. We are back again. There's a song lyric there that I don't remember exactly. Whatever. Second Katawa Shoujo stream of the week does mean it is indeed time for Lilly's Act 3. Yes, not yesterday, Monday. Monday was, Act 1 and 2, which was quite interesting. We, kind of a slow burn we've got going on here, I'd have to say, you know. Not as quickly as, Shizune's route happened, but we got a bit more of a slow burn, but as it goes with all slow burns, there's never a lack of things getting in the way. And that thing so far is the fact that Lilly's gone back to Scotland. Because, like what happened in Hanako's route, her aunt is sick. Which means we have about 2 weeks with Lilly not around, right as we were just wondering what exactly our feelings about Lilly are. Which, that can't make things easy. Poor Hiseo. He's gotta really think about, how he wants to handle things. What else was there? Not much, I don't think. I didn't do much. I haven't done much since I last streamed. I don't exactly, hit end stream button and then shut down like a robot, but I almost do. That's almost what happens. I did get off work like an hour ago, but, we're all good. This route could be very long. Let's, pop over here, so I can actually show some stuff off. Oh yeah, last episode we did actually complete the jukebox, with, the final song being, Sarabande from BWV 1010. A very nice, very, very nice little music box theme. Kind of a... I mean, it's one of the only songs that is exclusive to Lilly's route, so it's kind of tied in with Lilly. It's a very, very nice one, you know. Gallery, we added a couple more. Not a whole lot, I think it was just 3. I think it was these, yeah, these 3 we added to, and I think... Does this one? Yes, it does. So that's actually a really interesting thing, because Hanako's birthday party happens twice. And you get her different presents. There's 2 different versions of the CG. This is the Lilly route one, where Lilly got her the bear, and we got her the doll. And then the one where we got her the chessboard, and Lilly got her the doll. Which is a nice little touch that does get added to the CG collection as well. That's a nice little inclusion there. Again, we still have a full page of empty CGs for Lilly. I actually wonder, so this is all of the items in the game. So not ones that get their own CG, but enough that, so yeah, 6 more. 6 more little items to finish our image collection there. Yeah, we got the Act 1 transition cutscene, which we're actually, I remember, well, if you remember, I said that it had a little bit of hints toward what was going to happen in the future, and we're going to see some of that. We're going to see those little hints. And then our library. 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 Act 1 scenes left between 2 characters. Lilly, all 8 of her Act 2 scenes, and then there are 12. We have 12 scenes in Act 3, and 4 decisions, as well as 2 scenes that I have to censor. We're gonna be a little bit busy today, which means, no more, aimlessly chatting. Let's, start it out day by day. Water first. This could be one of our longest single route streams, so we'll have to see. I rest my chin on my hand as I absent-mindedly look out the window, yet another of Mutoi's lectures droning on and on as if it were endless. The summer sky is almost alluring in its bright cerulean splendor. Only the odd passing cloud breaks up the deep blue expanse. This feeling of longing is probably the outdoor side of me yearning to escape. Nagai, could you answer this? That side of me's lost to the past now, though. In that case, I think it would use the "an" suffix? Correct. Moving on, the suffix for... As my attention towards Mutoi slips once again, I spot Misha giving me an enthusiastic thumbs up and nod at her to settle her down. It's been a handful of days since Lilly left for Scotland, days which have passed relatively peacefully. Life largely continued as usual, in contrast to what I'd expected. While thoughts of her have danced around on the edge of my mind since she left, present events managed to subdue them, at least for the time being. So I find myself idly chatting with Hanako, as usual, when lunchtime finally rolls by. Are the later ones in the series good as well? Not really. Probably best off just sticking to the original. His later books didn't live up to it, other than maybe God Emperor. Thanks, I wasn't really sure if... As Hanako steps to the side, I see Shizune stride up in her typically businesslike manner, flanked by her ever-present bright-haired shadow. Try as I might, I can't read any hint of their intent from their faces. Shizune's poker face and Misha's seemingly boundless cheerfulness are a devilish combination. Morning, Shizune. Misha? Hi. I accentuate the greeting with a nod to Shizune in order to get the point across. She promptly and curtly returns the gesture to both of us. It's been a long while since I've really talked to either of them. For a while I thought they might be avoiding me, but I eventually came to the conclusion that Shizune really isn't the type to do so. Morning! Shi-chan says that Mutoi wants to see you sometime. Because of this statement, my face contorts as if I'd just eaten spoiled food, giving Misha no end of amusement. Wahahaha! Anyone would think you were in trouble, Hi-chan. You may not be aware of it, but you have the least to worry about out of anyone in this class. What an unexpected vote of confidence. Even Hanako nods hesitantly to affirm the point. Thanks, I'll keep that in mind. There was something I wanted to ask you, though. And what might that be, Hi-chan? I have a feeling this won't go over well, but here goes. Is there any reason why you and Lilly don't get along? It seems like even a little civility would help you both in your duties. Shizune's cold stare after Misha happily signs the word stops me in my tracks. In hindsight, I really could have worded that better. Out of the corner of my eye, I'm sure I see Hanako move back. Just a little. Thankfully, Shizune notices this and lets her temper dissipate as she forcefully runs her hand through her hair to let off steam. Perfectly on cue, Misha begins interpreting the second Shizune's arms begin to move. I would say that such matters aren't relevant to you, but since you seem to have befriended Lilly... She pauses to adjust her glasses, evidently attempting to articulate her point in the best possible manner. While I assume the same of her, I cannot call my own views on the matter unbiased. Suffice to say, we were closer before than we are now. Shizune makes a quick gesture to Misha to stop her from interpreting, then has a quick meeting with her before proceeding. The fact that the two can communicate so easily yet so secretly right in front of us is slightly disconcerting. Hanako seems to share my curiosity at the proceeding, looking on with thinly masked interest. As they finish their opaque conversation, Misha looks slightly deflated. I guess her opinion on the matter wasn't followed. Shi-chan says you should ask Lilly about it, as she doesn't want to be the one that gets you involved. Well, guess I'll just have to ask her after she gets back. At least I got some information out of Shizune. The two having been on close terms means that they weren't always at each other's throats, or at least not quite to this extent. I understand. Thanks anyway. With a nod and a farewell, the two break away and walk out the door, no doubt headed straight for the student council room. Could have gone worse, I suppose. Hanako lets out a long breath, relieved at the confrontation's resolution. Can't say I blame her. I'll see you later, then? Yeah, I'll meet you in the tea room. See ya. With that, she waves and joins the trickle of students leaving the classroom. Nakai, could I speak with you for a moment? Delivered in his typical monotone manner. He apparently decided that I need a reminder to see him already. Eventually, I finish packing up my things. By the time I reach his desk, the classroom is close to empty. Oh, come on, it's not already. Yes, sir? He looks up, taking measure of my face before giving an awkward, rather obviously acted chuckle. No need to feel guilty. You're not in any trouble. I just want to ask you something. I've asked a few of the other students so far. That's something, at least. For a moment, I thought my maxim of keeping my head down and pen up had failed me. So, what did you want to talk about? To start with, what do you think of your progress in this class so far? Good? Bad? I detest that kind of question. For a moment of time, I try to think of a response that is neither pathetically humble nor cocky. I'd say I'm doing okay. The work doesn't seem too hard, and I'm doing better on the test than I thought I would. That's a good answer. A correct one, too. I give a mental sigh of relief as his satisfaction. To say I don't gain a little pride from his comment would be a blatant lie. In the maelstrom of thoughts clouding my mind after learning that I'd be transferring to Yamaku, my school grades seemed utterly unimportant. Being entirely clueless as to what skill level would be assumed of me, once I actually got here, I was hugely relieved when I found out that I understood well enough the schoolwork we'd be doing. I know your circumstances might have thrown a wrench in the works, but have you given any thought to your future? My future? What you'd like to do as a profession. Do you have any thoughts of where you'd like to be in 10 or 20 years' time? I wouldn't be surprised if you covered this ground in your previous school. Oh, come on. But I don't have any record of it if you have. I suppose the last year of high school is the time when students would need to be thinking about such things. To be honest, I really haven't lent it much thought, compared to my immediate situation. Catching on to my thinking, Mutoi speaks up. It's okay if you haven't decided on anything specific yet. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of your classmates were still undecided, after all. Maybe pursue one of your talents? He's rather obviously trying to squeeze an answer out of me, and something about his previous wording makes me suspicious. He didn't seem to be intent on asking everybody like this. He must have some kind of selection criteria. At a guess, our grades in his class. Well, something in science might be the path of least resistance. His face brightens, no doubt pleased at the thought of a prize student following his subject as a career path. Good. Having a general idea is the first step. I would advise you to think on it, though. I will. Things are kind of settling down, which will help. Good to hear. Oh, and I've noticed that Ikizawa's attendance and grades have improved since you came to be friends. I'd like to thank you for that. I'm surprised you noticed we knew each other. He gives a chuckle as awkward as a smile. This guy really has no idea how to properly act around others. Every facial movement seems like an act of carefully but misdirected choreography. You could say that having a general idea of who knows whom is part of a teacher's job. Catching himself before he goes off on a tangent, he loudly coughs into his hand. I'm sure you have things to do, though, so I'll stop there. Please do think about where you're headed from here, as you don't have long to go before you finish high school. I will. Thanks. The brief talk ended, I take my leave. He goes back to fussing with the teaching materials on his desk. This is one of the times I'm envious of Lilly, almost maddeningly so. To have one's future so clear and so assured, yet working towards it from such a young age. It's an idea so utterly irreconcilable with my own thoughts, mired in the present day, just as they've always been. Hiseo is a science teacher. Could be something. Or science-related, not teacher exactly, but... we have two unimportant decisions in this scene. It's funny because, like, looking at the guide, it's just like it contains two decisions that do not influence the ending. Walking through the lobby to the cafeteria, I silently rue my daily routine having been completely thrown off. It had seemed like a normal day. I arrived in class before most, due to waking early and having become quite adept at chucking down my pills without choking as I get ready for the day. But as students trickled in, one never materialized. Hanako. I step inside, my eyes scanning the expanse of the cafeteria in search of a suitable place to take a seat. It's a task made more difficult by the groups of students moving about and busily talking. Yeah. A hand pounds my back hard a couple of times, severely winding me. I couldn't care less about the culprit as I focus my thoughts on my chest in a near-automatic reaction. My hand instinctively tightens on my breast, and I start going through the steps I rehearse in my mind every other day. Breathe steadily. In and out. With a measure of relief, I can slowly feel my chest becoming less tense. By the time I look back up, my face is covered in sweat from the experience. Hey, man, are you okay? God damn it. Don't do that, you idiot. He retreats back, an expression of unease written on his face. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have barked at him, considering he had no way to know. I give a sigh and right myself with some difficulty. Sorry, I just have some chest problems. Sharp knocks aren't good. It seems strange to see him so upset. The fact that I can't do anything about it irritates me. Let's get lunch. Okay, it's good to have some company for once. We start off to the serving line. One good thing is that Kenji and I can make small talk nowadays, as opposed to my only interaction with him being anti-feminist lectures. Seems like it'd be hard to find an empty table. There's a few people I wouldn't mind sitting with. Nobody's like you, though. Feel a shiver run through my spine. Clarify that now. They don't listen. Their minds are closed. It's the media, man. The goddamn brainwashing, feminist, fascist, mainstream media. He takes a breath, and I savor the second of silence. Damn, they control everything. Everything but you and me. I relax a little when we grab our food and drink. So, what have you got for me? Huh? Come on, you've been hanging around Satoy and that other chick for ages now. Rumors are all over my class and probably some of the others, too. Eavesdropping isn't a good habit. Let me guess, you never do it? Not even when you're bored. Really? Well, Fine. Point taken. Both of us stop to have soup ladled into a couple of small bowls and placed onto our trays. The concoction that lands in the bowl looks pretty questionable, but at least it smells reasonably good. As we take our seats at a miraculously free table, I try to think of something that would actually interest him at all. I hope I can come up with an acceptable topic. I found an answer to that question you asked a couple of weeks back, where Lilly's non-Japanese half comes from, that is. Good, man. It's Russia, right? Totally Russia. Scotland. He's visibly stopped in his tracks. Scotland? Alright, one sec, I gotta... Yeah, that was my reaction too. She can speak English fluently and everything. Damn it. Do you realize what this means? How terrifying this news is to me? I think he's hyperventilating. Passing out for a little while would probably make him more relaxed than he normally is. So this choice does not matter, but the fact that it calls him insane ramblings is funny. I dig into my food, hoping he'll take the hint from my silence. I just lost 1,000 yen. Man, 1,000 yen. Damn, this is the worst day ever. No such luck. You're kidding me. You made a bet about her nationality. One of the dudes in my class is bugging me about it. I gave him some of my wisdom, and he had the audacity to say my logic was wrong. So what did he think? Germany or something? Doesn't matter. What matters is my 1,000 yen. Damn, this day is ruined thanks to her. What a bitch. He looks utterly devastated as he wolfs down several clumps of his soggy, soy-soaked rice. It only takes a few mouthfuls before he pokes his chopsticks at me, stabbing the air repeatedly in revelation. Why? Would? Didn't your mother ever tell you not to speak with your mouth full? He gives me a dirty look before choking down the rest of his food left in his mouth and taking a gulp of juice. It's rather unsightly. Remembering my own food sitting in front of me, I decided to get the task of eating the cafeteria food over and done with as fast as possible. The sooner I do so, the sooner the experience will be over. So as I was saying, why would anyone want to live in that place anyway? I mean, what is there to see? Grassy plains, that's it. Lots and lots of grassy plains. And men in kilts. Men in kilts. I'm not sure which is worse, this food or his worldview. I can feel my face being dragged down by their combined weight. Not that he'd notice, or care. It's not that bad. Why do you care about her so much anyway? She's just your class representative, after all. He gives a malevolent chuckle. Were this anyone but Kenji, I'd feel uneasy about how he sounds. I finally found the chink in the Feminist Legion's armor. It took a while, but I'm confident this is going to be how we can bring down the whole system. I'm about to blow your mind. Are you ready? I tune out his ramblings for a moment as I finish my rice and start on the unappetizing soup. One taste is enough to confirm that it's cold. Ready as I'll ever be. They confirmed that Lilly is in the Mafia. What? Alright, stay with me for a second here and I'll describe the scene. I wish I could do otherwise. Lily's there, walking down the street after school. You're not stalking her, are you? No, damn man, I do have some sense of self-preservation. But not dignity, or morals, or social standards. Anyway, as I was saying, this car pulls up next to her and guess who steps out? A man in a pinstripe suit. Waves her in, then the two just leave, like that. I tell you, man, she's under protection. Under protection. A man... Oh, I can see where this is going. It takes effort not to sigh in exasperation. Let me guess. This man was about average height, had a slightly slender build, had blonde hair, looked foreign, and smiled a lot. He looks positively stunned. I take advantage of the moment of quiet to quickly gulp a mouthful of cold soup. It seems you're more observant than I thought. Yes, I have chosen well. He giggles a little and nods to himself so dramatically that it looks comical. I can't tell whether that's intentional or not, and that fact makes me frown. This has important ramifications, you know. If she really is connected to people like them, and we're smart about what we do with this information, we could turn this into our greatest weapon against the student council. Once he starts rambling into conspiracy territory, my juice suddenly becomes of much more importance. Only half listening to his pontifications, my mind drifts to the matter of Lilly and her antipathy for Shizune. The past between them is steadily becoming more coherent, but I'm not even sure if I should be learning of her past this way. Indeed, even if I do work out what went on, it really doesn't seem like my business to go and interfere. Damn, not having Lilly around is making my thoughts wander. I'm noticeably more bored and sullen without her company, and the same goes for Hanako. All we do during lunch anymore is eat and play chess. Come to think of it, I need to go check on Hanako after school too. Considering her much improved attendance, I'm guessing she's come down with something. Bye, Kenji. Oh, Nakai? I stop as I'm about to leave the classroom, turning on the ball of my heel to meet Mutoi. He's holding out to me a couple of the worksheets we'd worked on during the day with his long, lanky arm. Would you mind giving these to Ikizawa? I'd normally ask one of the girls to do it, but I assume you'll be checking on her. For a moment, I briefly consider the possibility of that being more than an innocent prediction. I quickly discard the idea, though, as it's hard to think of him acting in such a Machiavellian way. It's not in his nature. Sure, no problem. Walking up the hallway of the girls' dormitory, several ideas of why Hanako's been absent float around my head. The most obvious of them is just a simple cold. That said, she may not even be sick at all. It's been almost a week since Lily left, and despite her at least appearing to be normal, I've suspected she's somewhat more insecure about it than she's letting on. Eventually I come to Hanako's dormitory room, its simple brown door separating us. Her room's position next to Lily's is extremely convenient, and probably a large contributor to their meeting in the first place. Grimacing slightly at the prospect of her being sick, I rap my knuckles on the door. Silence. I listen intently for any sound of shuffling coming from inside, but I can't hear a thing. I knock on the door again, slightly harder. Still no answer. How strange. The door opens behind me. A freckled and somewhat scrawny underclassman I don't recognize comes out and is briefly taken off guard by my presence. Hi. So this one also not very important. For the ending, I mean. But yeah. Actually, this may be a rather fortuitous meeting. Hey, excuse me, do you know if Hanako's come out of her room today or not? She doesn't seem to be answering. Ikizawa is Ikizawa. Her not answering the door is totally normal. That tall foreign girl's the only person she'll ever talk to, after all. She gives a shrug before walking off down the hallway, having much more important matters to attend to than Hanako or me. Her dismissive attitude annoys me. Hanako must have a reputation as a hermit. A reputation that doesn't seem outright undeserved, at least in the time before we'd met. Scratching my head, I make one last attempt at getting Hanako to answer as I knock on the door one final time. Hanako, it's just me. Mutoi said to give you some stuff. For a while, the attempt seems just as unsuccessful as the last. Just before I slip the sheets under her door, though, I can hear the handle rattling. As the door opens halfway, I do my best to look Hanako over as quickly as possible. It's a task made somewhat more difficult by her oversized gown hiding so much of her body. She doesn't look sick, or at least not immediately so. To be honest, I'd have preferred that to her expression right now. Hi, Hanako. Mutoi wanted me to give you these since you weren't in class today. I hold out the loose sheets, which she tentatively takes in her hands. The way she moves is weird, devoid of thought, as if she's some kind of mechanical automaton rather than a living being. Are you okay? If you're feeling sick or anything, I could get the nurse. Feels almost pitiful to put on such a routine get-well-soon act. I can't think of anything else I could possibly do for her, though. She seems to collect herself a little at the notion, but only a little. I'm fine. Okay. An awkward silence follows, eventually ended by her nodding solemnly in farewell and closing the door. The entire experience feels surreal. More than a little put off, I wander back to my room and hope that she'll be better by tomorrow, despite not knowing exactly what's wrong with her. I'm pretty sure we can all guess what dates we're at right now. Yup. Minor discord. Now we're on to dissonance. No choices until prelude. Once again, I find myself in front of Hanako's door after another of her unexplained absences from class. Nothing. Considering this is the second day in a row she's been like this, I'm starting to worry about her. Summoning my willpower, I decide to try one last way to get her to respond. Hanako, if you don't say anything, I'll go get the nurse for you. Go away. What? It's hard to tell whether her tone's one of depression, anger, or both. What in the world can I actually do to help her if she doesn't even want help? The message is clear enough. I can't just leave her like this, though, just sitting in her room for days on end. Rubbing my temples in thought, I withdraw to my own room to think about how to proceed. Rationality is what's needed here, as an overreaction may just make matters worse. I dig around drawer after drawer of my desk, looking for where I put that damned piece of paper. Before she left, Lilly told me the number to call her on while in Scotland, and I wrote it down. Now that I need it, though, the damned thing is... here. I probably should have just entered it directly into my cell phone, come to think of it. Without further ado, I enter the numbers and anxiously press the call button. The fact that the phone rings at all shows I got the prefix for a call to Scotland right, at least. I've never made an international call before, so that's some comfort. Eventually the phone picks up, a feminine voice I don't recognize on the other end. It's probably Lily's mother. Satoi? English? Suddenly finding myself unprepared, I realize I can't understand a word she says, either due to my limited vocabulary or her heavy accent. I should have anticipated this, since according to Lily, her mother is a native Scot. I soldier on the hope that she must know some Japanese, considering it's her daughter's native language. It's Hiseo Nakai speaking. Enthusiastic sound of realization can be heard as she recognizes the language. My feeling of relief is immense. Ah, you must be one of Lily's friends from school, correct? Even so, her accent means I have to concentrate to work out what she's saying. Yes, that's right. Pleased to meet you, Miss Satoi. So nice of her to find someone so polite. Lily, dear, it's for you. Her mother seems nice, if a little over-enthusiastic given the mundane situation. There's a small silence as Lily takes her time getting to the phone. In the distance, I can just make out her mother scolding her playfully for just getting up. Hello, Lily speaking. You sound awful. She makes a sound somewhere between a dying animal and a yawn. The one thing I did remember to check before calling was the time zone. It'd be pretty late in the morning over there, so she really has no excuse. Not feeling well? Just tired. What time is it there? Late afternoon. School's finished for the day not long ago. Are you recognizing this dialogue? This is the same dialogue from the call in Hanako's route. You're really not a morning person, are you? I don't need you making fun of it as well. Takes me a measure of restraint not to laugh at her pained groan. Poor girl. How are you doing over there then, bar the mornings? It's been enjoyable, after not meeting for them for so long. Just having a meal together with my parents is nice. Though the pool and the sheer size of the house might have something to do with that as well. Even if they're not in Japan, from the way it sounds, her family must be pretty wealthy to live so luxuriously. Are things alright with you and Hanako? Damn, I was hoping that wouldn't be brought up quite so quickly. I take a moment to try and sort out exactly how to describe the situation without causing her undue worry, but she picks up on that without a word being said. Hanako's not well, is she? How did you know? Because today is her birthday. I'd hoped she might have gotten at least a little better after coming to know you, but... How is she right now? She missed school yesterday and seemed out of sorts when I checked up on her. Today she missed school again and just told me to go away. I've really got no idea what to make of it. Has this happened in the past? Is it related to her scarring in some way? Unfortunately so. Roughly the same thing happened last year when her birthday came up. As far as I can tell, it's because her parents died in the accident that caused her scarring, and Hanako blames herself for their deaths. What she says does seem to make sense. If she's blaming herself on her birthday, she may well be ruining that she was ever born. The fact that Lily seems so in the dark about it, though, almost to the extent that I am, is a surprise. So that's why she lives in the student dormitories as well. Has she told you any more about the accident? As close as we've come, she's very barely told me anything about what happened. What I know about it is largely conjecture. She sounds depressed, almost defeated. Considering the trauma Hanako must have gone through, I really can't fault Lily for not knowing. Nevertheless, she still seems to consider it a personal failing. Don't blame yourself, Lily, with everything she's gone through. I know. Thank you, Hiseo. I'm sorry I can't be of more help to you. It's fine. I'll just give it some more thought. Thanks, and have a good time in Scotland. It's nothing. Thank you for taking care of Hanako. Okay, bye. Goodbye. And with that, the line goes silent. Amid the seemingly only increased number of questions I can't answer, the most immediate is what Lily was going to say. Oh. Oh no. I'm an idiot. She must have thought I was calling to talk with her, but I only asked for help with Hanako. Even more shameful than that thought is the fact that such an appraisal would be largely correct. Well, first things first. For now, I need to at least sort out Hanako and make sure that she's actually eating okay. The occasional passing student gives badly hidden glances at the plate of food I carry to the female dormitories. It's hardly a meal to be proud of, only being an instant microwave meal from the convenience store, but it should at least fill her up. Eventually, I arrive outside of her room after having to ward off a couple of girls who jokingly tried to pilfer the food I'd taken so long to procure. I decide to forego knocking since it was proven to be utterly useless measure, and it's somewhat difficult to do with my hands full. Hanako, it's Hiseo. I know you're listening. I got some food for you. Silence, as I expected. I'll leave it beside your door. Please eat it at least, okay? There, I've said my piece. Now it's up to her. Putting the plate down, I walk back to my own room to eat my dinner. By the time I return to Hanako's dormitory, a good hour has passed. Thankfully, there isn't anything to be seen beside her door. I walk back at least somewhat happier that she's eating. If she intends to get through this by herself, then being able to help her, even if it's just in such a small way, is at least something. Same thing. But this time, since we don't really have a relationship with Hanako, we're just letting her, we're actually making the same correct choice, just in a different way that we made in Hanako's route itself. Because we saw what happened when you tried to push it, and it didn't work. A world away. I sit reading in the library after school, turning page after page, barely registering the words written on each out of sheer boredom. With my cheek resting in my hand, I can't help noticing the slightly rough feeling against my palm. It won't be long before I'll need to get a razor. Giving up on reading, I simply let my head drop onto the book in front of me. Things have quieted down considerably since Hanako began attending school again. When she first returned to class, nothing was said nor done that wasn't part of the usual routine, and it's been the same way since. Neither of us desired to bring up her accident, so there simply wasn't any point in pursuing it. Thus, a few days went by, the daily grind continuing just as it had before. It's only natural that my mind would wander to other places, and more importantly, other people. The lily-shaped hole in the daily life of Hanako and me has been pretty noticeable for a while now. I'd be pleased to say that this has allowed me time to refine what my thoughts on her exactly are, but alas, I've had no such luck. It doesn't help that many attempts to do so have led to the troublesome topic of Iwanako. Every time my thoughts drift into that direction, I reflexively try to think about something else. Why did this have to happen now? I turn around and look up for the source of the tentative voice coming from behind me. Sorry, I didn't mean to disturb anyone. That's not it. I glance around the orange-tinted room, quickly realizing how silly my apology must have sounded. In the time I've spent thinking and lazing about in here, everyone's well and truly left. Library closing. If you don't want to go, I could keep it open a bit longer. It's no trouble at all. Don't worry. I should get going anyway. Thanks. As I get up and begin to move off, I feel Yuko's eyes drilling into my back. Is there something wrong? You look depressed. Are you okay? Yuko nervously twists her fingers as she says this, unsure whether she's overstepping her boundaries or not. I really can't tell if she's more worried about my mood or about bothering me. Normally I just shrug it off and assure her that I'm fine, but my reflective mood gets the better of me. Despite being staff, she really doesn't feel as much like an authority figure as the others. It's just... I guess the best term for it would be relationship problems. Oh, I'm not too good with that kind of thing. My only relationship ended abruptly. But if you want to talk about it, I mean, I could listen, I think. Now I feel kind of bad for bringing it up. She's not that old, though, so at least she has a good chance of finding another partner. It isn't like we're in a bad situation right now. We have spent many days together as friends, sometimes going out to do stuff, that kind of thing. But I'm starting to want to do more for her, learn more about her, and be with her more, but I'm not sure whether to actually love or not, though, and our friendship as it stands is enjoyable. You shouldn't let that stop you. Sorry. How to say this? I think that it's nice that you have good friendship, but school is going to eventually end. Do you think you'll be fine with not knowing if it could have gone further after you've graduated? I guess that's the crux of the problem. I really have no idea what the answer to that question is. Well, I can't really help there. What your true feelings are is something you have to decide for yourself. But I think that if you do love her, you should definitely say something. After thinking about it really hard, I decided that even though my relationship didn't work out, it's still better that way than never knowing if it might have or not. I never expected Yuko to sound so wise. It only makes sense that, with more life experience than I, she'd have a better idea about this. Well, I suppose not very much was actually answered. Talking to her has helped get it off my chest, and I have no doubt that I should confess if I really do like Lilly. I give a slightly frustrated sigh. Only reading so much to actually help when it comes to situations like this. She gives a girlish giggle, which only reinforces my view of her as being different from the usual staff here. In the end, it all comes down to what will happen after school finishes once again. Considering what happened before I came to Yamaku, it feels like being asked to keep up with a field of runners, despite having started from a dozen yards behind them. It's just one more motive to get on from the past, or to move on from the past. The last thing I need right now is to get too caught up in that and feeling homesick while I'm at it. Once again, I find myself calling Lilly. My phone bill is going to be horrific, considering this is international. But it's worth it. I don't only want to smooth over her feelings from the last time I called, I genuinely want to talk to her again. When the phone finally picks up, I easily recognize the voice on the other end. Satoi? Hello, Miss Satoi. May I, speak? Damn, I've forgotten how the rest is supposed to go. It's not encouraging to forget such a small amount of words, even if I didn't spend that long trying to memorize them. May I speak with Lilly, please? Hello again, Hiseo. Are you teaching yourself English? Just a little. I don't think I'm too good at languages in general. Oh, don't say that. Your pronunciation was good. I'll get Lilly for you. Just wait a moment. I obediently wait as she goes off in search of Lilly, the other end going silent. Eventually, a much more awake-sounding Lilly than last time answers, the time over there being past noon by now. Hiseo, are you there? Yeah, I'm here. Hi. Good afternoon. Sorry for taking so long. I was outside in the garden. Gardening? Unfortunately, I found I'm no good at it, so I just smell the flowers. I think my fingers appreciate it more. I take it Hanako's recovered a bit. Yeah, I just made sure she was eating, and eventually she righted herself. Thanks for the help the other day. I don't think I was really that much help. The main thing is that she's better, though. True. How's life over there, then? Sounds like you've been living in nothing short of a mansion. I wouldn't call it a mansion. But it is rather large, is obviously what she wants to say, though modesty stops her. I'm a little envious, but it is her holiday. It's a nice house to stay in, though. There's a beach near here, too, which Akira's especially fond of. She's a swimmer? She's constantly dragging me there to have swimming competitions, which she wins, every time. Lilly doesn't strike me as very athletic at all, so not being adept at swimming seems logical enough. The fastest I've seen her move is her understandably relaxed pace during her walks to and from the suburbs down the hill from the school. That was a run-on sentence, good fucking lord. It makes the image of her swimming hard to imagine. The beaches there must look nice. They'd be less crowded than the ones around here, at least. Indeed. Akira says the air around here looks beautiful because it's so far outside the city. I only realize what I've said after I say it, but it doesn't bother her at all. It's still easy to forget that she can't see when she's not around, despite the time we've been friends. That said, the local accents sometimes make communication a bit hard. It's a constant reminder that this isn't home. Well, the fact that she doesn't consider her parents' residence to be her home makes good sense. It makes me realize that I can't really answer whether the same goes for me. Graduation from Yamaku is distant enough to be difficult to view objectively, and I've spent so much time in this small room. I've come to accept the dormitory as my new home surprisingly quickly. I guess that would be hard to deal with. Is your knowledge of English holding up? Make sure my phone doesn't fall asleep. Thankfully, I may be fluent, but being in a position where I have to use it often helps in curbing my Japanese accent, so it's been useful practice. I hear you're trying to teach yourself English? More like memorizing a few lines and failing at even that much. I'm really not cut out for learning another language. My admission of defeat draws an amused giggle. I believe that there are things one chooses to do in life, and also things that are chosen for one to do in life. You can take comfort in the fact you're better than me in science and math, at least. All that's helped is making me Mutoi's star student. I wouldn't worry about it. They're useful skills for many jobs, right? That's what he tells me. His face veritably lit up when I said I'd probably go into a career involving either. We both share a warm laugh at the events that have befallen each other on opposite ends of the world. It's nice and reminds me of our simple small talk that I've been missing since she left. As each of us waits for the other to begin speaking, I decide to push ahead with my feelings. I can feel my throat tightening slightly. I miss you. Silence on the other end of the phone tells me she's given the words their due weight, but as it goes on, I can't help feeling more and more apprehensive. Thankfully, the silence ends, almost as quickly as it had begun. I miss you too, Hiseo. Goodbye. Goodbye, Lilly. Once again, the phone is hung up, simply and without any further ado. That light, tentative, almost shy voice, her warm and soft tone, I'd simply be lying to myself if I were to say that I don't recognize this feeling for what it is. With thoughts of Lilly dancing on my mind, I start anticipating her return. Today has been a most excellent day. Hiseo's in love. I need to remember to keep my mic at mouth level because otherwise I'm going to give myself a fucking curved spine. I can already feel my neck like, ugh. I already feel my back hurting because I lifted improperly at work today. We had a bunch of goddamn packages to move and I had to clear off a cart just to take them all to the mailroom. Then I had to reload that cart, so ugh. Shit was heavy on it too. The smallest, thinnest packages on there were actually the heaviest too, which is just incredible. We are now on renewal, right? Yeah. I sit listening to another of Mutoi's long-winded lectures, my mind wandering far from the scribbles on the dirty blackboard. God, some of the music in this game is so loud and none of it is so quiet. Since I called Lilly, my mind's been drawn in two directions. Both, roughly, lead to the same conclusion. I've started to feel oddly detached from my past life. It's only been a month and a half since I arrived here, yet this school's become a second home. I've gained new friends and contacts, managed to get grips with the school's lifestyle and culture, and become accustomed to the quirks of my classmates. To become used to a school where disabilities are the norm, rather than the rare exception, still catches me off guard sometimes when I think on it. The same school that's populated by burn victims, amputees, the blind, the deaf, and all manner of disabilities in between. If someone had described this school to me before I'd come, I'd have shrugged it off as an overactive imagination. Even when I first arrived, I felt like the Dutch coming to this strange new land for the first time. It's amazing how quickly one becomes used to the environment they're forced to live in, really. And now I've even found someone that's got me entirely smitten. What a strange life. Before my mind can wander any further, though, I find a page of lined paper slipped under my distracted face. The garish, bright pink ink has no doubt been penned by Misha. Don't look so bored, Hee-chan. School's nearly over. 3-day holiday. Oh, right, we get Saturday and Monday off. Can't complain about having less school, I suppose. I uncap my pen and scribble on the page before covertly passing it back to her, flicking my eyes to the front of the class every now and then. Mutoi continues scrawling away arcane equations and formulas on the board. I'm guessing you have something planned? Misha takes the paper back and hunches over it comically, even for her, with her tongue poking through the side of her mouth. Did she misinterpret my expression as depressed, and is she trying to cheer me up? Student council work with Shi-chan, of course. You're not still brooding over that, surely. But Hee-chan could have helped us poor, lonely girls. I'd lend you a hand for today if I weren't going to be busy. Ooh, naughty Hee-chan. Just gonna meet Lilly with Hanako. I don't know what you've got going through your head. So Lily's back? Yeah, she's coming back on the evening flight with her sister, so she'll be back in school next week. As she takes the note back and begins to write, I look up to see an unwelcome sight. While I frantically try to silently catch Misa's attention, Mutoi confidently strides through the gap between the desks from the front of the class, his intent gaze focused directly on her. She suddenly stops writing as his tall figure casts an impossibly long shadow over the page. He silently takes the piece of paper from her and begins to read. Sweating bullets, I quickly glance around the class, noting their complete silence. Of course, it would just have to be the one thing that actually gets their attention during the lesson. After a scant few seconds examining the page, he rolls the paper up into a small tube and lightly bops Misha over the head with it. Half an hour until you can hop off to the student council. I think you can hold on until then. Misha's face cracks as the entire class erupts into laughter. He might well be awkward, but he knows how to handle her excellently. I'd probably feel sorry for her if I weren't as busy stifling my own laughter. The thought of him just smacking her on the head with it is amazing. Mutoi is amazing. He's like the best. I want a teacher like Mutoi. Iseo, is that the one? No, I think that's some foreign airline. And so, the third aircraft they are not on comes into land. For the past half hour, we've been whiling away the time with small snippets of pointless chatter. Lilly and Akira's flight has been delayed, and at this rate, it'll probably be dark before their plane arrives. Is that one it? No, the company colors are wrong. Hanako's eyes flutter left and right, following the trickle of people in and out of the huge glass doors ahead of us. Fortunately, nobody pays her much heed, their attention apparently directed towards greater things. Maybe that one is it? No, I think that's... Hold on a minute, I think that one might be it after all. It takes still some more time before the billboard changes their flight status to disembarking. A loud yawn sneaks up on me, not allowing enough time to stifle it. My sleep patterns have, once again, been all over the place, likely due to a mix of worrying about Hanako and the side effects of my medications. Iseo, over there. I look to Hanako, then follow her gaze to the airport door. Oh, Lilly, they're here. Really? We all call out to each other in greeting, quickly shuffling over to the side to avoid blocking the passage of others. Lilly! Hanako jumps forward to hug Lilly, a wide smile on her face being all that's needed to see her happiness at Lily's return. Lilly simply smiles in return, her voice soft. It's wonderful to meet you again, Hanako. As the two give each other a hug, well deserved after all that's happened while she was gone, I turn to Akira. Yo, you're pretty late. Yeah, there was a really bad storm over the airport. We got drenched just going from the car to the door. Guess you'll appreciate the weather here more then. Welcome back to you too, Lilly. Hanako breaks off from Lilly as I speak. For a long time, neither of us says a word. Contrary to what I thought her homecoming would be like, the atmosphere feels awkward, almost stifling. Both of us try to guess each other's feelings, not quite sure about what should be said. Damn. This is exactly what I'd feared when I thought of trying to move things forward between us. Lily runs her hand through her fair hair and awkwardly twirls one of her bangs in her fingers, clearly trying to think of how best to react. Eventually, thankfully, Lily gives a small sigh and breaks the silence. "Thank you, Hiseo. It's nice to be back." "Are you okay? You look tired." Evidently not recollecting herself all that well, she quickly waves her hand in front of her face to stave off any concern Hanako may have over her. "I'm okay, really. It's just a bit of jet lag." Weak. You don't have any? She simply gives a big grin, puffing out her modest chest. "I feel absolutely fine." That's not fair. Ah, well. Shouldn't take too long to get rid of it. Ah, that's right. Hiseo. Yeah? Don't we have a holiday from school soon? I'd have forgotten if Misha hadn't reminded me this morning. We've got a 3-day weekend starting from tomorrow. Oops. Akira playfully bumps her elbow lightly into Lily's side, grinning. Told you wouldn't miss it. You have something planned? If neither you nor Hanako are busy. I've got no plans, so something to do would be appreciated. Hanako? No, nothing. That's good. I was thinking we could go to my family's summer house for a bit of quiet over the break. We've rarely used it recently, though, so we'd have to dust things off a little while we're there. Oh? Where is it? Up north, in Hokkaido. The place is practically deserted, so it should be a nice quiet break for you guys. You're not coming? Nah, got a little holiday of my own set up with my boyfriend. I lower my eyes at her, suspicious of her intentions. Sounds like we're just cleaning up the summer house for you. That's perhaps a valid conclusion. Both of us zero in on Akira, her face somewhat evasive. Looks like we were right. That's just a convenient bonus. Really. Me and the guy left it in pretty good condition last we were there. I promise. Now then, I'm out of here. Already? Akira. She quickly turns and walks away, her hand held high. See you in a few days, guys. My voice for Akira just is not consistent. I don't like how that's still... I'm trying to fucking take drinks of water away from the mic, but I can still see it bumping levels on the mic. I hope nobody else can hear it. Lily and I can only sigh at our hasty retreat. It does sound like it would be a nice place to go. Lily gives an enthusiastic nod, taking her carry bag in one hand and placing her other on Hanako's shoulder for guidance, as we begin to make our way to the taxi area. After the fracas of the past few days, spending a weekend in the country alone with her and Hanako sounds like a dream. The more I think about it, the more sure I am. This will be the right time and place to confess my feelings to her. Oh, he's got a plan. We are now on a northern sojourn. Because that's the name of it. I love this whole set of scenes because it's really... I guess the way to say it would be idyllic. I love the area. I love like the area it takes place in, and it reminds me so much of where much of my family lives. And honestly, like a place I'd love to live at eventually. Just, you'll see it when we get there. It's a very beautiful, scenic place, and I absolutely would want to live in a place similar to it. Alright. The morning chill wraps itself around my shivering body. I huff into my cupped hands to desperately try and stave off the cold as we mill about on the station platform. Lily's clothing looks rather ill-suited for the temperature around us. I can only hope it's indicative of what she expects the weather to be like at our destination. Damn it, Lily, why do we have to get here so early? Unfortunately, the train schedule is against us. The next train to Hokkaido is at 2 in the afternoon. Great. Just great. I pause a moment to wipe some sleep out of my eyes, and Lily probably takes advantage of the opening. Cheer up, Hiseo. Once we get there, it'll be much warmer. Why not just take the bullet train? A normal train's gonna take hours to get us there, so we may as well take the Shinkansen line as far north as it goes and just switch at the end. There's a certain charm to older trains, wouldn't you agree? I'd agree if I weren't freezing in the morning cold because we decided to take one. I'm sorry, Hiseo. Sorry? What for? I was the one who suggested taking a normal train. Way to make me feel guilty. All I can do is sigh and cover my face with my hand. It's fine, I'm just grumbling. My, Hanako. You needn't shoulder all the blame yourself. Even without your suggestion, I've still opted for the same thing. Thankfully for the quick interception from Lily, take a quick gander around the station. Aside from us, the train platform's all but deserted, the morning dew settling on the empty benches. I guess no one else was masochistic enough to brave the very early morning. Though if someone was, they'd more than notice the huge bags both Lily and Hanako brought with them. Just what did you have to pack into those things anyway? 100th Assassin, welcome to the stream. Don't you stinky me, how dare you? That's rude. You haven't missed a whole lot. Lily just got back from her trip to Scotland, and Hiseo's planning on confessing, but I think you've played this game before, so you know. I don't have to recap anything to you. I shouldn't recap anything to you if you're gonna call me stinky. The audacity. This friggin' chat, man. One of these days, aliens are gonna stumble upon our civilization. They're gonna rue the entity known as chat. Audacity is me. You. How dare you? How actually dare you? I can't believe you've done this. Just know when the aliens come after they've taken over our civilization, they will be on our side again. They will be on my side against chat. Chat is the ultimate antagonist. How dare you? The bags? She pauses a moment and tilts her head in thought. A change of clothing, raincoats, underwear, sleepwear, a number of books. I think that's the most of it. You make it sound as if I'm unprepared. You brought less? Underwear and a pack of cards. That's it. And my pills, but never mind that. No pajamas? Damn, I knew I forgot something. As I ruffle my hair in frustration, Lily sighs. There should be clothes you could use. Akira still occasionally goes there after all, and I think some of our parents' clothing is still in storage. I don't think there'll be any problem with you borrowing a set of pajamas if need be. Thanks. Still, I don't mind just sleeping in my normal clothing. Don't wear the same clothing for 3 days, Hiseo. That's gross. That's actually gross. Don't do that. For 2 days? Well, 2 days. Good point. Not really, though 2 days would be borderline. It's more than that. It's more that looking even a little like a slob would be unacceptable in the presence of two girls. At least you understand. A little slow on the uptake, but you got there. As we leisurely talk on at the station platform, an announcement sounds from the loudspeakers, loudly heralding our ride's arrival. Looking past Lily and Hanako, though, the train's still well out of sight. A quick check of my watch is enough to see that it's the one we'll be taking. The 5:30 train was ours. 5:30 in the morning. Ow. Correct. Either of you want me to take your bags? Mine's not exactly heavy. My, that's very gentlemanly of you, Hiseo. Don't accept too reluctantly now. As I bend down to pick up Lily's large bag, I look to see Hanako picking up hers. You fine with that? A silent nod's the only answer. I'm starting to get the feeling that by the trip's end, I'll be able to count every sentence she said on one hand. Oh, this is a nice CG. With the morning landscape passing by the window, and the occasional rattle of the train pumping the carriage around, I try to focus my attention on the aging playing cards held in my hand. I'll raise you 5. She scrunches her face up and leans over to Lilly conspiratorially, the two exchanging a few whispered words. Considering how often this has happened so far, I'm coming to doubt Hanako's grasp on how to play poker. It doesn't seem to disturb Lily's reading, though, her hands flitting over each page with only occasional corrections to account for the train's bumping and rocking. My collection of chess pieces that we're using as chips is steadily growing anyway, so it doesn't really bother me. Looking around us, our carriage is almost as empty as the station platform we'd waited for the train itself. Only a handful of people can be seen around, looking mostly like tourists and couples on holiday. While the two continue their less than clandestine strategizing, a small boy looks over the seat and stares at me. Hoping he doesn't begin to stare at Hanako, I simply give him a wave and a smile. Thankfully, he retreats back to his seat after finding me far too boring to waste his attention on. I'll see you and raise you another 5. Damn, you got me, I fold. I've been bluffing and she's caught me. Hanging my head, I push over a large portion of my winnings. Hanako looks absolutely delighted, and even if Lilly keeps her attention focused on her reading material, I can see the smirk on her face. They're both extremely pleased. For a moment, I try to work out what Lily's reading, but the cover is too faded to read beyond the fact that Roman letters are on it. A pity I can't read the braille above the printed title. What are you reading, Lilly? The title looks like it's in English. That's right. It's And Then There Were None, an old British story. I could read it to you if you'd like. She extends the offer with a grin, obviously in jest. I think I'll pass, thanks. Yay! Oh, it's so comfy. I love this. I love this setting, this environment. Oh, it's so comfy. These little... And once we get inside, too, it's so reminiscent of so many of the areas I go to all the time, and went to all the time as a kid, back when I was visiting my family. It's so nice. So nice. After a seemingly endless trip, we finally reached the promised land of the Satoi summer house. Even after the train trip, the walk up seemed to take forever. Despite my grumblings, though, I have never guessed the sight that would be in store for us once we traveled that long, deserted road. It looks more like a farmhouse than the everyday house I'd imagined, small in size and surrounded by trees and bushes. An empty expanse of wheat fields and farming lands can be seen as we walk up, the fencing only consisting of rickety old wooden planks. It really drives home how far we are from the major cities. It's a sight that feels antithetical to the environment I grew up in. The only thing that doesn't surprise me is its Western styling. Wow, it's amazing out here. It's wonderful. That's nice to hear. While Akira may have said that she's kept the house in reasonable condition, I was worried that we might have different standards of reasonable. It looks like there isn't another soul for miles. I thought Akira would be the type to keep to the city. Lily furrows her brow in thought, seemingly recalling almost forgotten knowledge. From memory, there's a small town not too far ahead. Other than that, though, this is largely just old farmland. Akira and I stayed in our parents' house, which was in the nearest city for a while. But after they left, we decided to move into a smaller, more easily maintainable house. To find a place like this in Japan now, it's kind of anachronistic. Well, this town does have quite a bit of history. I looked down the street one last time before getting back to the task at hand. Shall we go in then? I'm parched. It was a long walk to get here. Lily gives an enthusiastic nod, the three of us lugging our bags into the house. Oh, so comfy. See, what it exactly reminds me of, I have, my grandmother lives, on my dad's side, lives with a roommate. I keep saying it roommates, it's her wife. I called them roommates for the longest time when I knew, whatever. tangent that's not important. But so her daughter owns a little piece of cabin, or a little piece of land off of a lake up where they live at, and they have a little small like this kind of house, and it, like, the speakers, the old books, the VHS tapes, it really reminds me of everything they have up there, because she also has three children, and so they go up there a lot, and they'll fish, swim in the lake, and they have like books. It's so beautiful, and I guess it really, like, the way to say it is it really like fits my aesthetic. I love it a lot, and I really want to live in a place like that. So now you understand. I like these little kind of tucked away. I'd love to have something like that. Oh, it would be nice. I keep thinking about it a lot, and yeah, okay. You get the point. As soon as we set foot inside, Hanako and I start looking around, taking in every detail of where we'll be staying for the next few days. All the artifacts of another's life stopped mid-motion around the house, such as the television guide lying beside the counter it was on, and pans in the adjoining kitchen still sitting on the stove. It's a strange feeling, really, as if we were stepping into Akira's life for a brief moment, before leaving in a couple of days, just as we'd come. Of course, the more mundane reality is that she just hasn't cleaned up after herself that well. Where should we put our bags? I'll show Hanako our bedroom. You can put yours here if you like. You mean I don't have the same bedroom as you two? Hanako flowers into a full blush as Lily takes her cheek in her hand. Oh my, how bold. You two... Hold on, if I'm to leave my bags here, where will I be sleeping? Well, seeing as we lack a guest bedroom... The convertible futon, huh? Sorry, Hiseo. I sigh, lamenting my place on the bottom rung of sleeping location priorities. I guess there's no other choice. Lily leaves to show Hanako to their bedrooms. So I take a small tour of my surroundings after I drop my bag on the floor. The kitchen, oh, such a nice, comfy kitchen, too. Plenty of space, though. Like, that's actually... The kitchen in the place I was thinking about is actually so much smaller. But this is actually a nice one. Ugh. I'm getting nostalgic, man. The kitchen, just like the living room, is fairly modest. The rustic nature of the wooden furnishing drives home just how far we are from civilization. Returning to the living room, I decide to try out the television until they get back. With a touch of the remote, it immediately flickers to life, apparently set to a news channel. Almost flopping down from exhaustion rather than sitting, I lay back and watch. And watch. And watch. Sleepy time. Hiseo. I quickly blink to wake myself up. Lily and Hanako having returned, minus their bags. From the Hokkaido night sky visible outside the windows, it looks like I drifted off to sleep. Looking at the wall-mounted clock, it's already 10. My suburban home is far from civilization. Well, to be fair, it's correct. Like, it's a suburban-styled home, but it's in, like, the middle of a bunch of old farmland. So it is a suburban home far from civilization. It's how it works. You found the television, then? Yeah, it really does feel nice and homey here. I'm glad you like it. You were already out like a light when we came back after unpacking our things, so we didn't have the heart to wake you sooner. Judging from her giggle, I must sound funny when I sleep. I swiftly decide not to inquire. There's some dinner waiting for you in the kitchen. Hano gives a deep yawn, only just remembered to cover her mouth at the last second. My, are you tired? I didn't get much sleep last night. Pretty tired, too. It was a long walk up here, and it's getting late. If that's the case, I suppose we should retire for the night. Good night, Hiseo. Good night. Night. With that, they quietly turn and walk back to their bedroom. Rubbing my eyes, I sigh. Wonder if I'll be able to get back to sleep after being woken up. I suppose I'll eat something and watch some more TV quietly before going to bed. Yay! So it's funny, not only is this the place, I think this is the setting in the game I like the most. Aside from, we're gonna go to the woods in Rinsroot, not for very long. But I do like that. There's also another place in Rinsroot that I really like, but I will not talk as much about that. But there's a couple journeys into a forest, and I really do like that. But yes, this is probably my favorite place in the game. And then on top of it, there is this is a very important area in the game, as you might have already grasped from the fact that Yukihyou plans to confess here. Is he still sleeping? I think so. I am not. I am, however, incredibly tired. It's getting late in the morning. I know that. He likely stayed up to watch television. I could hear it from our bedroom. Only because I couldn't get to sleep. Should we wake him? Don't do that, Hanako. Please. No, we should leave him. I doubt he'd want to be woken early if he didn't get much sleep during the night. Thank you, Lilly. Besides, he sounds so peaceful. It would be a shame to wake him when he's like this. Keep a straight face, Hiseo. It is nice she cares so much, though. Hanako, could you go to the fridge and fish out what's needed to make lunch? Alright, just the vegetables and rice? That should be enough. We only need something simple, as we can eat in town later. Hanako's footsteps on the carpeted floor can be heard, moving away from the living room. As they do, I feel Lily's hand gently rest on my chest. It takes a titanic effort not to react, but something about her makes me think she knows I'm awake. A long silence passes. The only thought in my mind is of that gentle, outstretched hand laying upon my chest. After an indiscernible amount of time, Lilly withdraws her hand. Good morning, Hiseo. Conceding defeat all too easily, I prop myself up and rub my eyes. How'd you know? Your breathing was off. Well, that makes sense. She couldn't have needed that long to work it out. Knowing her hearing, she likely knew before laying her hand on me. If you want to sleep more, you should really go to bed earlier. I heard the television going long into the night. Sorry about that. My medications have been interfering with my sleep for a while now. Even if I'm tired, I have trouble actually sleeping. I'm sorry for bringing it up, Hiseo. I sigh. This is exactly the kind of thing I wish others wouldn't do. Actually, so prelude. Boom. Boom. This is an important decision. The one decision in this route that actually, or act that actually influences the ending. So, we gotta address it. Come on, you worry about me more than I do at times. Just means I have to sleep a bit longer, that's all. But still, I'd say that I look absolutely fine, but I guess that wouldn't have a lot of meaning for you. She gives a sigh of consternation before trailing off with an amused chuckle, giving up the point. If you say so. Please do take care of yourself, Hiseo. Go on, Hanako could use some help. She moves to protest, but reluctantly acquiesces and disappears into the kitchen, her hand running along the smooth white walls as she slowly walks. For a while I sit and watch television in an attempt to wake myself up a little more, but it's futile. I don't have anything better to do, so I follow Lily's lead. As I round the corner, I see Hanako and Lily's backs turned, quietly cutting food on the granite-colored counter. I am temporarily engrossed as I watch Lily guiding the knife down carefully with a finger on the cabbage she's cutting, each slice delivered slowly but with precision. She seems a little slow, but considering that she can't see what she's doing, it's a small wonder she can cook at all, let alone for both her and Hanako. Hi, Hanako. Lily. Want any help? Is that he... Oh, morning, Hiseo. Uh-oh. Lilly jerks back in surprise before turning around, her yelp immediately drawing Hanako and me to her side. What's... A small trickle of scarlet falls downward from her pale fingertip, the knife having cut just deep enough to draw blood. The television sound masking my footsteps, she must not have noticed me coming. To compensate for having to use touch to guide everything she does during cooking, she must need to pay extra attention. Lilly. Don't worry, Hanako. It's just a small wound. You still get a band-aid on it, at least until it stops bleeding. First aid stuff would be in the bathroom, right? I think so. Will you be okay here, Hanako? I frown at how little heed she's paying to herself as Hanako gives a quick, almost automatic nod. It's fine. I can keep making lunch. An awkward silence reigns as I set the bottle of antiseptic and box of band-aids on the side of the sink, Lily's finger held out for me to treat. The lid of the bottle comes off with a minimum of resistance, and the small ball of cotton I soak in the liquid stains a pale green. Okay, hold still. This'll probably hurt a bit. She gives a small nod as I take hold of her hand to steady it. With all the tenderness I can muster, I gently bring the dampened wad to the small red line. Ah. What? I barely touched it. Sorry. I give a sigh, both at her reaction and to settle my own nerves. Her pain tolerance is startlingly low. I would tell you to man up, but I can't really do that. She gives a small giggle. I take advantage of her momentary distraction and gently press the cotton against her finger a few times. Thankfully, it's enough to do the job. We both settle somewhat as I bring the band-aid over the tip of her finger, covering the wound while making sure not to get it stuck to her fingernail. There, it's finished. You can move now. Taking her hand from mine, she gently clasps it in the other. Thank you. It's no problem. It's the least I can do after causing you to hurt yourself after all. She lowers her head slightly at the apology, absent-mindedly rubbing her hand in what seems to be embarrassment. I really don't mind. Her answer doesn't seem to make much sense, given that what happened is pretty clearly my fault. I can't help grimacing at her, despite the fact that her dainty smile still holds. She must not like being reminded of the limitations her lack of sight imposes on her. Something I can't possibly fault her for. I've fallen prey to the same kind of feelings before, despite my condition not being nearly as ubiquitous in my life. Neither of us any the happier, we head back to the various smells of cooking food coming from the kitchen. I lay out the plates of food, steam slowly rising from the well-cooked rice and curry dishes, while Hanako lays out the cutlery. Knife one side, fork on the other. Western. How perfectly fitting for someone like Lilly. As we take our seats, taking careful heed of the dark red tablecloth hanging below our knees, Lilly emerges from the kitchen. In our hands are 3 glasses and a bottle of wine? As I recall our previous run-in with the devilish elixir, I hide my face in my palm. Alcohol? Seriously? She pauses as she reaches the table, a playful grin perched on her face. Akira specifically gave me permission to take a bottle from her collection. Actually, one second, I did make the right choice, right? I'm now doubting myself. Here's what the log looked like, by the way. Okay, I did make the right choice. Good. One more choice in this route, and there's only one in the next route. Or act, I mean. Not only does she give alcohol to minors, she even lets them pilfer their own? The perfect model of a responsible adult, Akira is not. More to the point, though, is that this is hardly a meal deserving of alcohol. I'm starting to think Lily's the type to easily become hooked on things. That's not really the problem. I don't really have any qualms with it, but didn't you have a bad experience with it last time? Last time was likely due to drinking too much, so a single glass shouldn't prove a problem. Think of it as a learning experience. I can't recall many learning experiences that made me feel rotten before putting me to sleep, but I'll take your word for it. She dips an uninjured finger inside to feel the liquid level tip against the bottom as the liquid rises up. The white of her finger almost seems to glow as the sunlight hits it, a delicate outline blurred and refracted by the glass. Her fingers are definitely longer than mine, the kind I'd think more suited to a pianist than a teacher. She'd likely have done well if she'd learned how to play. We quickly dig into our meal, forks and knives clattering against plates. None of us are particularly eager to speak while eating. Lilly altogether too reserved for such a thing. Hanako probably too shy to start conversation, and I too busy savoring the food. Such a pedestrian activity, eating together at a table. It seems so utterly normal, yet it makes me realize how long it's been since I've done something like this. Just the three of us, sitting around a single table, eating as if we were a malformed family. Maybe this trip, as far away from everything as we are, was worth it. It takes quite a long time, but eventually we all finish our surprisingly filling meal. The wine, thankfully, has little effect given we've only had a glass or two each. I slump back into the seat, rubbing my stomach contentedly. I'm stuffed. Lilly pats her mouth with a napkin. Twice, only twice, and with evenly timed intervals in between. It's hard to tell sometimes whether how she acts is a well-trained routine or a well-rehearsed act. I think I must be as well. Did you like it, Hanako? It was nice. Now that we're well fed, shall we be off? Off? Where? You weren't privy to the discussion between Hanako and me earlier. I get the impression she's having a subtle dig at my sleeping in. We'll be going into the town nearby. I guess I should have expected two girls to take a holiday as an excuse to go shopping, no matter where on the planet they may be. I am interested to see more around the north, though, so this can only be a good thing. Sounds good. How long's the walk in, then? It's supposed to be around a mile to a mile and a half. Nearby, huh? Great. Just great. This is also a nostalgic little... I didn't get to go back up there this year, because I was very busy, so... I really do miss it, and it's already got me waiting for next summer when I can actually go up there, because I won't have anything else to do. I'll be... Whatever. Too much to talk about. As we climb up the path surrounded by trees and undergrowth, I watch Lilly and Hanako walking ahead. The slight breeze all but whisks away the sound of Lilly's cane gently tapping on the ground. I notice that Lilly's since removed the band-aid now that the bleeding of her finger has stopped. A deep, lung-filling breath of the fresh country air makes me wish all the harder that the air around home had been quite so clean. It can't have been even half a mile, but I'm already working up a sweat. It isn't a pleasantly cool day, though, so I shouldn't be too hard on myself for it. Hey, Lilly, how well do you know this town, anyway? Since I spent quite a few of my vacations here up until I entered Yamaku, I'd say I know it fairly well. We used to drive there once a weekend then. How I wish Akira was here to drive us now. I quickly take a moment to rub my hands a couple of times, staving off the oddly cold feeling in them. Did you like it up here? I'd say it was nice during winter, but as you can work out, summers get a little too hot for comfort. It's nice and quiet, at least. My family's real house is quite far south. When they left Japan, my parents gave it to Akira and me. Only Akira lives there now, after my moving into Yamaku. Well, quiet certainly describes this place. Though lonely is how I'd put it. Other than the prophesized small town, there isn't another soul for miles around. Coming from a home nestled deep within the big city, it's certainly different. I think that if I'd not come to Yamaku, staying out in the country like this would be too much of a change to get used to. After getting accustomed to the school's isolation, though, the idea of living in a place such as this has become almost inviting. To be somewhere away from the hustle and bustle of the metropolitan centers. So, Hiseo, have you been to Hokkaido before? Nah, I used to live down south, and we never had any field trips or holidays up this far. Well, it is a new experience for you, then. Yeah, it is. I'm surprised at how nice it feels here. How about you, Hanako? She shakes her head from side to side. It's my first time, too. As we continue walking, I begin to feel pins and needles in my legs. It's a little disturbing, given there's no reason for it to be happening. Could you two hold on a moment? I just need to... Is anything wrong? Nah, I've just got pins and needles in... My vocal cords suddenly become taut as my chest tightens instantaneously. I quickly pull my upper arm over it, trying to quell the shout of pain spreading throughout my entire body. Hiseo? Lily's face is only mildly concerned, not knowing the sight which Hanako's recoiling from. I'm fine. I'm just tired. Remove my arm from my chest and force myself to begin walking again. It's just a minor heart flutter, so it'll pass like the others. It only takes a couple of steps before my body violently revolts against me. My legs suddenly beginning to give way underneath me, and all tension in my legs, in my knees, seeming to evaporate. Before I can react, they uselessly give way under my weight, leaving me only just enough time to brace myself and fall onto all fours. God damn. As I look up to her, I realize my face is still taut with pain, only adding that much more to her worrying. Hiseo? Hanako, tell me what's going on. Hanako, tell me. Hanako quickly moves to my side as Lily almost panics, having little clue as to exactly how bad a condition I'm in. While she stands there petrified, I lower my face and take a deep breath. I come to a realization that makes me endlessly irritated with my stupid self. With all the excitement of my new surroundings, I'd entirely neglected to take my medications last night, or even this morning. Taking another breath, the acute pain in my chest begins to die down as suddenly as it had arrived. Thank God. Thank God. Thank God, thank God, thank God. As it does, I become acutely aware of the sweat by now pouring off my face, and the two scared girls around me. Hiseo. I'm fine, Lily. I'm fine. I screw up my brow in an effort to lever myself up, Hanako's arms quickly moving to catch me if I fall, as I stumble a bit before regaining my balance. I look to Lily and Hanako, worry written on both their faces. I feel awful. Utterly awful. I think we should go back. Realizing the futility of protesting, I look away in frustration. Fine. All the little talks about medication, and Hiseo ends up forgetting them. Crescendo. This is a nice scene, by the way. This'll be a scene people appreciate. I open my eyes groggily, completely bereft of energy. For a while, I simply lie down lifelessly, staring at the ceiling as I review the events of the morning in an attempt to organize my thoughts. We went to walk to town. My heart nearly gave way. We came back. I took my pills. I slept. I can only remember each period of time as a snapshot, but the timeline is clear enough. The memory of the girls' faces as I struggled to stand is an unpleasant one, stinging my feelings harshly. If I look at the ceiling hard enough, I can imagine the tile edges and small dimples of the ceiling in the hospital. That fact alone is enough to make me sit up and try to pull myself together. I scratch the back of my disheveled hair, glancing around the room. Lily and Hanako are nowhere to be seen, and the television's turned off. The clock above it says it's pretty late in the afternoon. The noticeably reddened sky outside the windows confirms it further. I turn and pick myself off the futon, swaying slightly as I put my arms out for balance. I suppose I'd better go look for the girls to see if they're all right. As I look out the window, I faintly see something in the distance. Straining my eyes, I can just make out the shape of a person's figure. Her long blonde hair swaying in the faint breeze makes her almost seem to melt into the bright yellow of the wheat field. Without a second thought, I leave the room to follow that lone apparition. The brightness of the setting sun assaults my freshly woken eyes, forcing me to avert them until they adjust. The long yellow strands of wheat brush against my legs as I wade through them, the densely grown field making it hard to advance. Regardless, my eyes stay fixed ahead, true to that solitary figure. Within minutes, I reach her. Meters behind her, turned back. Lily? She simply nods. Where's Hanako? She's in bed. She went to sleep after I calmed her down. She says it matter-of-factly and with as few words as possible, as if saying any more was strictly forbidden. There's something different about her. Her normally confident figure seems oddly fragile, her body offering no resistance to the breeze blowing her skirt. The strands of wheat sway from side to side, while a deafening pause passes, the only sound being their rustling. As we stand in the field alone, I know what I have to ask. What's wrong, Lilly? You're not acting like you usually do. Remember when I talked of my family, Iseo? Your family? I look downwards in thought, sifting through my scattered memories. The event seems to leap ready to hand when I search for it, rising to the surface as soon as it was recalled. After Hanako's birthday party, she gives a single, simple nod. It was nice back then. You and I, celebrating with Hanako, simply sharing presents, talking, having fun together. It was almost as if we were a family. One small, misshapen family. I thought that could just go on forever. Just the three of us, happily together. He takes a long breath, a slight shakiness to it just barely audible through the moving air. Even if my family was so far away, as long as we were together, that was all I needed. I don't want to lose you, Iseo. Didn't even realize how afraid I was of losing someone else until today. I'm sorry, Lilly. I know my body's weak, but even then I make the most stupid of mistakes. Don't apologize. Please, don't apologize. Lilly? She turns to face me, her pale cheeks stained with tears. One misguided step after another, she stumbles towards me, her arms held out in search of so much as a faint brush against me. My heart doesn't race nor pound as I step towards Lilly, gently taking and steadying her in my arms as she quickly clutches to me, sobbing. With her face trembling against my shoulder, the next words from her mouth are the last I expected. I love you, Iseo. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Don't go away, I beg of you. Never ever go away. I love you, so please. So that's why she's been acting like this. That tender voice when I called her, her thoughtless concerns at the slightest pain I might feel. After having been left in Japan without her family, and with only Akira, Hanako, and me around, she was afraid of losing yet another person who was close to her. She was genuinely worried for me. It's a strange feeling, a mix of surprise and sorrow, yet also of the deepest gratitude I think I've ever felt. The only reaction I can muster among my conflicting emotions is a calm sigh. You idiot. Iseo? For a fleeting moment, I feel her body become still. The only movement to be felt is the calm afternoon breeze. I said it before, didn't I? It's only natural to feel concerned about those around you. I'm still here, and I'll always be here, because I want to see you more each day, to share in your happiness, to support you in your sadness, but most of all, I'll still be here because I want to see you smile, your true smile. A single gust of wind rustles the long strands of wheat. A second silence passes. Smile when you want to smile. Cry when you want to cry. I love you, Lilly, so you don't have to hold back anymore. With that, her arms clutch my back as tightly as she can, her face buried beside mine. Her tears fall down my back, and she cries unrestrainedly as the last of her resistance melts away. Iseo. 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 I close my eyes and bring my head down to her shoulder, holding her shaking frame tightly. It's okay, Lilly. I'll never go away. I promise. We slowly walk back to the house, holding each other tightly as we take a seat inside. Lilly leans her head onto my shoulder as I put my arm around her waist. Okay. Did a sneaky scene transition on me there. Look at myself. Okay. Neither of us has any want to break the silence. With her eyes shut, it's hard to work out whether she's fallen asleep. Not that I mind. The warmth of her body leaning against me, the softness of her hand delicately held in mine. For a long, long time, we sit, leaning against one another, sharing our warmth and feelings as night eventually begins to settle in. Lily's gentle, soft voice ends the silence. Thank you, Iseo. Thank you? For returning my feelings. Did you think I wouldn't? There was the possibility. I take a deep breath and thought, that much was only my fault. It's funny, actually. I was thinking of telling you about my own feelings sometime soon. I guess in that way, you saved me the effort. She raises her head a little and gives a tiny, amused giggle. I smile at how earnest it is, so girlish in its lightness. She collects herself soon afterward, her hair resting against my shoulder. Feeling a bit better? She gives a small nod. You are thoughtful, Iseo. That's why I like you. Sorry I'm like this. As much as I didn't want to make you concerned for me, I couldn't do anything to prevent it. Don't apologize for it. Please don't. Lily? Have I ever apologized for my blindness, even once? You can't help the way you were born, Hiseo. There's no point in apologizing for who you are. She says this with surprising conviction. In the end, it was perhaps this mentality which spurred her to befriend me in such a short time, in addition to her motherly instincts. She did seem to become trusting very quickly, but I never questioned why. Now it seems obvious that she did so to help me as I went through one of the lowest points of my life. I moved to respond, but cut myself off as I feel her fingers run gently through my hair. I feel their soft and delicate touch moving downwards to trace the contours of my face, her palm finally settling on my cheek. You are a beautiful person, Iseo. Please don't ever apologize for that. For a moment, I'm utterly speechless. I slowly bend my head down, placing a tender kiss on her light, voluptuous hair. We're a couple of right old fools, aren't we? We are. After a long calm, she speaks again. Iseo? Yes. I wouldn't mind if you... I feel her hand tensing under mine, trembling slightly. My mouth opens, but try as I might, I can't formulate a response to her proposition. Lily? Before I can say another word, she slips her hand from under mine and tenderly holds the side of my face once more. Please. I give a peaceful smile, holding her hand against my cheek as I nod a single time. Okay. As I look into her eyes, she leans toward me. Her delicate lips touch mine as she guides herself with her hand. She breaks off not a second later, faintly smiling. I love you, Iseo. We kiss again, this time with both of us meeting the other. Well, the previous kiss was one of love. This is one of lust, our tongues meeting and our breathing heavy. After precious seconds we part, both our faces well and truly flushed. Both of us bring our fingers to our lips in unison, recalling that fleeting feeling rapidly becoming buried both by our urges and bashfulness. Lily is the first to shift uncomfortably, though. What is it? Should we get more comfortable? Okay. Now that she mentions it, this futon would be a bit narrow to do much on. Considering the thoughts running through both our minds, it's no small wonder one of us has any measure of foresight left. I take her hands and guide her sideways as I move, the brief and awkward dance ending with both of us tentatively sitting on the floor opposite each other. As I reach forward to pull her top up, she stops after she moves her hands to do the same. Okay.
That seems like my cue to do that.
You're shaking. I pause for a moment and look at my hands. Sure enough, they're quivering slightly. Whether it's from nervousness or excitement, I'm not sure. I guess I am. So you're as nervous as I am, then? I withdraw my hand and sigh, steadying myself. We have plenty of time, so there's no need to rush this. Sorry, it's my first time, so I'm a bit... She giggles shakily, all but confirming what I've reasonably deduced by now. It's the same for me. I'm happy we could share this together. I match her smile twofold, leaning forward and taking her body in my arms as she reaches to hug me back. I love you, Lily. You already said that. I can't help grinning. Even in such a situation, she still has her wits about her. Breaking our embrace, we decide to take off our own clothing. Well, it's easier this way. I don't doubt it's just an attempt to distract ourselves from our nerves. With slightly stiff hands, I begin to slide the first button out from my shirt. Once we remove the last of our clothes, which end up haphazardly piled behind us, my breath is taken by the sight in front of me.
Shrimp.
I love that that's what they decided to do for it.
It's quite good, I have to say.
Alright, we got passing of time, but I'm gonna hold on the sensor for a little bit.
Also, I literally have to use it in the next scene.
Not this scene, but literally the next one.
Come back to see spicy YouTubes.
Yep. Don't worry, 100th Assassin. You're just in time for the second one.
But I'm actually going to take a little break first. I gotta use the bathroom.
I'll be back. Alright, we're back. Sensor's still up, yeah. So it's really funny. Looking at this, so counting this scene, we have 3 left. And I remember saying, I was like, oh, it's going to be a long one. This could be the longest of the single scene. No, not even close. Literally not even close. I saw the 12 scenes. I saw the 4 decisions, and I was like, oh no, this is going to take a while.
Ooh.
No. This is going to be shorter than her Act 2 was, which was 8 scenes, and that took, like, a while.
Nothing is going to be shorter than Hanako's.
Act 2, though. It's the one thing that just... or Act 3, sorry.
No, it was Act 2, Act 2.
It's the one thing that just completely stands out in the playlist, because it's an hour and a half long.
I love it.
Alright, After being woken by a sound, I open my eyes with a measure of reluctance. Turning my head to the left, I find the rain outside sweeps against the windows loudly. Spray after wind-blown spray lashes against the glass, as if trying its hardest to make up for the summer's previous heat. I sit up in the futon, holding the back of my neck to try and subdue the pain from my awkward sleeping position. By all accounts, I should be lamenting the turn in the weather, given that this is our last day here. The events of yesterday refuse to stop flooding my mind, though. The feeling of holding Lily's crying body in my arms. The rush of lust and hormones that flowed through us as we spent the night together. It seems almost futile to try and rationalize everything that happened. In an attempt to distract myself, I groan and lean over to retrieve my bag without standing. Pulling out one bottle after another, I take the daily regimen's worth of pills from their containers and swallow them without further ado. Okay. I'm gonna guess we're fine. Oops. That's what I wanted to do. Took a surprisingly short amount of time for it to get used to swallowing pills without water. That said, I suppose the same thing goes for getting used to living in a school for disabled students. Remembering Yamaku, I've become all the more grateful for having the chance to get away, even if it's just for the shortest of times. I appreciate the chance to spend time alone with Lilly and Hanako, away from the bustle of school life, even considering the latest complications. I never thought I'd say it, but the idea of living away from the city in a nice, tranquil area is an inviting one. It's a thought that, barely a year ago, would have seemed simply ludicrous. A flash of pink, no doubt Hanako's gown, peeks up from around the corner. Realizing I must look like a sight since I've only just woken up, I slap the remaining pills into my mouth and run a hand through my hair. Good morning, Hiseo. I reply to her, completely forgetting him in the middle of swallowing a particularly large pill. Coughing and spluttering. Spluttering? That's not a word, I don't think. Spluttering doesn't...
Spluttering? Okay, it's apparently a word. Explosive spitting or chewing noises. Okay, then.
Fitting. I've just never heard it before. Hiseo. After sputtering loud... Okay, that's the more word I was expecting. Sputtering loudly and tapping my chest a couple of times to force it down, I managed to recover. I'm fine. Sorry, I forgot I was swallowing. Sorry, I didn't mean to... He held my hand up, gesturing for Hanako to stop. I gagged. It's my fault. Morning, Hanako. She pauses a moment before bowing in reply. There's Lilly. Walking, no, staggering. In behind Hanako is the familiar figure of Lilly, also dressed in her pajamas. With her eyes full of sleep and hair bedraggled, she's a sight to behold. Hi, Lilly. Good morning, Hiseo. For a while, a silence hangs in the air as neither of us knows what to do. Given what happened last night, we both have more than enough reason to be finding the situation awkward. Just how are we meant to react to meeting each other after something like that? The best course of action would probably be to talk to Lilly alone, to set things in order. I'll start making breakfast. Lilly evidently catches on to my train of thought. I'll help. Hanako, could you set the table? She nods, her head disappearing into a cupboard as she quickly goes about her assigned task. I rub a little more sleep out of my eyes as I wander over to the fridge and take out some milk, and Lilly grabs various brightly colored boxes from some of the lower cupboards to my side. While we make the rather bland-looking meal, I whisper somewhat more quietly than usual. Knowing Lily's hearing, she won't have any trouble catching what I say. Are you okay, Lilly? After last night? She gives a delicate nod, her expression weak. Though her tiredness surely plays a part, she seems genuinely unsure about what's happened between us and how to move ahead. I can't say I blame her, considering my feelings are the same. I'm sorry, Hiseo. I wasn't thinking straight yesterday. I never stopped to consider you or Hanako, and I even went as far as... She's winding herself up, with her hands and voice both tightening, and give her a gentle bump to try and lighten up the situation. You don't have to apologize. I said I liked you as well, after all. But as her composure begins to falter, it becomes obvious there's no alternative. Turning to Lilly, I gently embrace her tall frame. She offers no resistance at all, thankfully pulling back just from the edge of her emotions. Despite our reassuring embrace lasting only a matter of seconds, I notice Hanako wordlessly watching. The plate in her hand hovers inches above the table, her action halted midway by the sight. The clatter of utensils against plates is the only sound to be heard as we silently eat. Whereas before only two of us may have been unsure of ourselves, the entire situation has changed. After weeks of blissful friendship, whiling away the days with shared meals and chatter with little meaning, the relationship of Lilly and me, no, that of all of us, has irreversibly changed. I can't take this. Lilly. She solemnly nods, gently laying her spoon under the plate in front of her. Neither of us knows exactly how we regard each other, let alone how Hanako would view us. This might seem abrupt, but I've confessed to Hiseo. For a moment, Hanako looks almost confused. Precisely the reaction I'd thought she would have. She eventually nods, her spoon still in her mouth as she does. Did you accept? I did. She gives a smile so large and so earnest, I find myself blushing. I think it's the brightest I've ever seen her expression look. Then I'm happy. I'm really, really happy. I'm sorry for not telling you anything about it before. Things have been... Hanako shakes her head from side to side emphatically, apparently forgetting in her rush that Lilly couldn't possibly notice. She begins fiddling with her fingers, looking a little more nervous than she did before. To be honest, I began to think you might like each other a while ago. At first I didn't really know what to think about it, but I decided in the end that if my friends are happy, then I'm happy. I was really glad to have another friend when we met Hiseo, so you finding love through him is even better, right? A feeling of relief at her acceptance of our relationship falls over me like a wave. The same happens to Lilly, judging by her expression. Thank you, Hanako. I really appreciate you being so understanding. Lilly's voice still sounds slightly apologetic, or at least unsure. This doesn't escape Hanako, who appears lost in thought for a few moments before turning to me. Hiseo, do you mind if Lilly and I go outside for a bit? No, feel free. Hanako? Hanako gets up from her seat, taking Lilly's hand and almost dragging her from the table in her excitement. Considering Lilly's typically slow and steady pace, Hanako's haste makes her footing awkward, and she almost loses her balance a couple of times. It's a pretty amusing sight, leaving me wordless as I watch them disappear out the door. It's only now that I realize the rain stopped, being replaced by a sky seemingly all the more vivid and bright to make up for the morning's drab, gray expanse. For Hanako, this must be a pretty big revelation. Lilly and I are really the only people she associates with, almost as if we were parents in her own stead. This route is literally just the Hanako's parent route. Like, Lilly and Hiseo are Hanako's parents. They even treat it like that. Like, the scene before, in the field, Lilly's like, I put Hanako to bed, and it's so funny. It's funny how much it actually happens and how much Hiseo actually, like, thinks it. It's, quite amusing. It's also cute, so I suppose that might well be the best way to describe the relationship we share. A father, mother, and daughter, all playing around in our little make-believe family as if it could last forever. It might be a strange dynamic, and one that certainly can't last for long, but maybe just for this one small moment, it's okay. As I stand from the table and go to join Lilly and Hanako in the fields outside, I nod to myself in affirmation. This one small moment of happiness no matter how brief, will last with me, all of us, forever. Is this? It does the covert scene switch again. Submerged deep in the hot water, I let out a drawn-out sigh escape my lips. The feeling of seemingly every muscle in my body relaxing is euphoric. I have no idea how long it's been since I had a genuine hot bath, but right now I can hardly be bothered trying to remember. Maybe I'm giving the simple fact that for once I get to have a real bath more credit than it's due. The chance to just calm down, allow myself to unwind, and have some time to myself is a welcome one. Hanako, Lilly, and I wandered about outside, exploring the extent of the surprisingly large tract of land surrounding the house. Then we spent the majority of the afternoon resting, watching television, reading, and playing cards. It may not have been the most exciting finale to the trip, but such a tranquil peacefulness is something to savor. Even after we return to the school tomorrow, I think I'll remember this little house in Hokkaido for a long time. It's a pity we only have a couple more hours to spend here before going to get the train back. All I can do is yawn contentedly while I watch the steam slowly rising from the clear water's placid surface, my eyes eventually locking onto the ceiling. Our exams are imminent. I've barely studied at all for them. On top of that, I don't even know what I'll do after graduation. Passing exams is all well and good, but to what end? Also now, of all times, I'm getting into a relationship. What the hell am I doing? I guess I shouldn't think like that. What's done is done, and maybe this could be viewed as just another aspect of my new life that I'm working on. I enjoy being with Lilly, and there's more to life than school and a career after all. As I busily attempt to rationalize all that's happened, hear a series of raps on the door. I pick myself up and sit upright, trying to figure out the source. 3, no more and no less. Light yet assertive in their tapping, and timed regularly enough to tune a metronome. I'd be extremely surprised if it wasn't Lilly. May I come in? Yeah, it's Lilly. I'm still in the bath. I'll be out in a sec. I know. The voice coming from the other side of the door freezes me. After a second's thought, I rest on the side of the bath and let my arms dangle over the side. I'm putting this up just to be safe. Despite trying my best to play it off, I can't help letting my mind wander. Sure, come in. Okay, we can actually... With that, she opens the door, slowly walking into the room and closing it behind her. She looks oddly calm, countering my racing heart. Hey, Lilly. Do you mind if I take a bath with you? I don't mind. Go ahead. With a small nod, she begins to lift her sweater off her shoulders, baring her chest little by little. I could do that for you, if you'd like. Refused. Why? Her face shows she's still not overly comfortable with letting me attend to her. I can't say I blame her. She continues undressing, her shirt and skirt falling to the floor and leaving her in her white lace bra and panties. Eventually, she stands bare in the center of the room. Boom, more shrimp. I'm glad that these scenes don't make me read more than I'd like to. Okay. There we go. The momentary present. Yay! This is the last scene of the act. So yeah, this is not even gonna make it to 3 hours. Crazy. After a chaotic dash to the station and finding our seats in the otherwise deserted carriage, we promptly crashed. Looking at the time, close to midnight, it's a little surprised that few take this particular train. Hanako is fast asleep on Lily's shoulder, and I can only barely muster the energy to stay awake. The excitement we had a while ago probably didn't help. I'd probably be pretty depressed about going back to school if my brain was actually working. As it is, though, the sight of the nighttime scenery scrolling by is surprisingly beautiful. My loud yawn is nearly wholly drowned out by the clacking of the train tracks and the old carriages rattling. So tired. And whose fault is that, Hiseo? She really does toe the line between insulting and amusing sometimes, though I managed to wring out a weary smile. I look back out the window, my reflection just visible on the clear pane. Truth be told, she's perfectly correct. If it weren't for that little interlude a few hours ago, both of us would have a lot more energy. On top of that, we both had to take another bath, very nearly making us late for the train's departure. Yeah, it was mine. Still, getting to a bath with a guy is a dangerous thing to do. Evidently. Sorry, I guess I kind of took advantage of the situation back there. Well, I didn't exactly hate it. As she trails off, I look back to her. My eyes narrow as I see her slightly reddened cheeks and small grin, her mind obviously elsewhere. Say it. I knew the possibility of it happening was there. I knew it. You're just as dirty-minded as I am. She quickly coughs into her free hand, making her disapproval crystal clear. That's a rather crude way of putting it. Oh? And you would suggest? I merely have a healthy adolescent sex drive. So in other words, dirty-minded. Almost seeming to sense the moment, Hanako mumbles quietly as she furrows her brow in Lily's lap. Lily's look of disapproval melts away as she gently smiles and strokes her hand on Hanako's long, dark hair. All I can do is watch. Watch and smile. If someone were to ask me when I fell in love with her, I wouldn't be able to answer. The best I'd be able to come up with is, it just happened at some point, but I didn't realize it. If someone were to ask me why I love her, though, then I could answer much more easily. You really love Hanako, don't you? She gives a deep nod, smiling warmly. It's a pity we have to return to school. She seemed to relax so much while we were all away. So this one does not actually matter either, but... I wouldn't worry. Hanako's been gaining confidence thanks to you, at least for as long as I've known you two. She gives a self-depreciating sigh. I think I merely provided her with company and support. Since she came to know you, she's opened up much more, even to me. I get the feeling she's understating her influence on Hanako, especially given that before the two came to know each other, Hanako had no friends to speak of. The friends I'd had in my previous school fulfilled what I'd have expected of them, for the most part simply being there for idle chatter, but in Hanako and Lilly, there really feels to be more to their relationship. A part of me envies it, but another can't ignore the fact that the school year will eventually end. After graduation, I really have no idea what Hanako will do. This trip has shown me just how much we've all come to depend on one another. Indeed, we're all going to have to make decisions. Maybe that's the reason why, despite our return to school and also heralding a return to the normalcy of everyday life, I can't help feeling a little restless. On the bright side, it won't take long for the summer holidays to arrive after our exams are finished. We could come back here during the summer holidays if you want. For a moment, she thinks on the notion, her face becoming somewhat distant. I can only guess she's reflecting on all that's happened here. That would be good, I think. I nod approvingly, smiling at her. Summer, together with Lilly. This idea seemed like the perfect way to spend our holiday. Yay! Act 4. Future.
There it is.
Bump. Bump. Slow steps before a waltz. We did it! That is Act 2. Or Act 3. I keep saying that wrong. And look at that, we've got... Look how close they are as well. It's very nice. We've got 2 left to fill in there, too. Take a look at our gallery. We've got some new stuff in there. 2. Only 2, actually. So that means there's a lot of... Well, only 2, I say, is there's 2 scenes where they're CGs, but we're not going to be able to look at them. Because I will get banned. Go to our library. I don't know why I scrolled through Act 1. Act 3. All of those. That was definitely shorter than I thought it would be.
I thought we'd be going for much longer. I thought those
Scenes were a lot longer than they actually were. But I want to take back a look at this. Because, like I said, it's a little foreshadowing. Lilly leaving for Scotland. With Akira, too. Yep. Then this, I mean, we'd seen this earlier, but then it switches over to the wheat field in the mountains, where we hadn't thought about it. Well, we hadn't known about it actually yet. I'm a very big fan of that one. I like it almost as much as I like Rin's, and we're gonna see Rin's very soon. By soon I mean 2 weeks, but it's very cool. I like Rin's. Yeah. I am a very big fan of Lily's route. It's super high up there on my favorites list. Probably, actually, I think it'd probably go Rin, Lilly, Hanako. Shizune and Emi would probably be tied. I do like Emi's route, but it doesn't... It kind of contains itself. It's not the most memorable. It was nice. Got one act left, and that will be... Looking at our times, I'm a little bit concerned at how long tomorrow's stream is going to be. Or not tomorrow, Friday's stream is going to be. But we'll get to that when we get to it. That'll be the Act 3 stream, of course. Let me go back over here, close out the game, get the BGM back on. It's always nice playing Katawa Shoujo, even if it's only for like 2 hours. Those streams are still nice. Said we're not going exactly right back to Katawa Shoujo tomorrow. Tomorrow's stream is actually I'm just gonna play Elden Ring. It's not gonna be me starting from the beginning, I'm just gonna play it. I don't know how long it's gonna be, maybe 2 hours, I don't know. Just kind of threw it in there because I had to do something and I wanted to kind of rest my voice. So hopefully I don't lose my mind, because Elden Ring is annoying in the early game. But yeah. Then Friday, of course, 6 p.m. CST, the usual time slot. Going back and playing Act 4 of Lily's Route, which also means we're going to be looking at the wrap-up, and the only wrap-up is to look at the neutral ending. Which I'll do before the good end, of course. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna go get some food. I've not eaten since before I went to work. So, if you enjoyed the stream, I'd greatly appreciate if you left a like on the video. If you subscribed, if you're not subscribed already, we're 9 subs away from 100. I have special things planned at 100 subscribers. So, I would really love to show those off. Leave a comment, that kind of helps too. The bell, know about the next stream. Again, tomorrow, 6 p.m. CST, Elden Ring. Follow me on Twitter for updates on things. I tweet whatever random things I'm thinking. If you like the stream, you'll probably like the Twitter tweets. They're about as ridiculous as I get on here, so... Twitch for Gorilla streams, those might pick up soon. And yeah. I hope you had a great time watching the stream. I hope you enjoyed Lily's Act 3. It's a very beautiful, kind of short and sweet one. Again, not as short as Hanako's Act 3, but, you know, it happens. I hope you have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, or night, whatever time of day it is for you. I hope you're safe, and I hope you're well, and I do hope to see you in the next stream. Well, to you, everyone. Bye-bye.